and welcome to Superintendent's Roundtable. I'm Deborah Vinsel, the CEO here at Thurston Community Media. Fall is here, the days are getting shorter, and a new school year has begun. And with the new school year, we have some new faces here at the Roundtable that we'd like to introduce you to. The North Thurston Public Schools and the Yelm Community Schools both have new superintendents, and we're so thrilled to have them with us today. For the first part of the show, we're going to take a little bit of time to get to know them, and I'd like to introduce you to them right now. So I'm pleased to welcome Brian Wharton from the Yelm Community Schools, the new superintendent there, and Dr. Debra Clemens from the North Thurston Public Schools, the new superintendent there. So welcome to the Superintendent's Roundtable. I hope you enjoy this. We like to have fun. And welcome to our community. Now, Deb, you're new in the community. You came from Cheney, and Brian, I'm going to start with her since she came the farthest to do this job. So I just want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the community and tell us a little bit about yourself. So first of all, you've been in education for a long time. So what was it that drew you to education as a career?
So I'm originally from Wisconsin, and I started as a business teacher. And when I went to college, I actually was planning to be a business major. And during the summertime, I was working with youth as a youth counselor, and I really enjoyed working with high school students. So I changed my major, and I graduated from Viterbo University in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
With a degree in education.
Yes, business education.
So you taught in Wisconsin for a while?
I did. I taught in Wisconsin, and my husband's career brought us west. We moved from Wisconsin to Washington, back to Minnesota for a few years following my husband's career, and then back to Washington.
So you came to the North Thurston Public Schools from Cheney. What was it about the North Thurston Public Schools and the position when it opened up that intrigued you?
So WASDA has an annual conference that a lot of superintendents from across the state attend with their board of directors, and I had attended that conference with our board and heard Raj speak, and I was really impressed with the work that's happening in North Thurston Public Schools and his leadership.
Great. So you've been on the job now for 6 months?
Since July 1st.
Since July 1st. And yeah. I know, coming into a new position and just kind of getting the lay of the land. So I guess I would ask, what was your kind of initial experience, your initial impression of the school district and the community when you moved here?
So very positive. I created an entry plan as a new superintendent. That's one of the responsibilities of a superintendent, is to learn about the community and about our schools. And so I've been meeting with key leaders in our community as well as staff, leaders within our schools, and asking them about our relationship and how we can strengthen our partnerships. And everyone has been very positive about our schools. I feel like North Thurston has been led well. We have an excellent board of directors, and my job is to learn about the community, about our schools, and figure out that best path forward.
So now that you've been in the role for 6 months, almost, I guess 5 months it is, were there some things that you did at Cheney that you wanted to bring with to say, hey, here's an idea, or were there any specific programs that you were really impressed with at the North Thurston schools that you want to try to enhance and grow?
So with the entry plan that I created, I shared that with our board of directors and had the opportunity for them to provide feedback to the plan, as well as our cabinet, which is our central office leadership team. And one of the things that we identified early on was a desire to strengthen student voice throughout our school system. So we do a community survey, and one of the things we learned through that survey is that the #1 source of information about how our schools are doing comes from our students. And so the board of directors recently passed a policy to add 2 student advisors per semester to our school board as representatives to the board. They're non-voting board members, but so one of the things that that I brought forward, we did have student advisors on our board in Cheney.
Great. How are those students selected?
They're selected by their building principal.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, and welcome to the Roundtable. So I want to turn to you now, Brian. You didn't have too far to go to get from one desk to another.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about your background in education?
Well, this is my 30th year in education, and I actually started in Spokane at Central Valley School District, where I was an English teacher, and my passion for journalism is what led me into education, along with, did a lot of coaching as well. Moved over to this side of the state, and I spent 20 plus years at North Thurston, both as a teacher, principal, district office administrator, and most recently, the last 6 years, I was the principal at Yelm High School, which was a fabulous job. And so the transition has been familiar in many respects, but it has been a great learning experience. Like Deborah, been working hard on our entry plan, and that has been very much targeted in engaging our community in understanding as much as they can about our district and our needs. And I think it's been a positive transition. We've been able to get out and talk to a lot of businesses and community organizations, and we're just like North Thurston, taking in a lot of feedback, because we have some serious issues that we have to deal with that are positive and can really grow our district in a number of ways. But it has to be done through really getting people to understand the mission that we have ahead and the challenges that we have ahead, which right now mainly lie in the fact that we're growing very fast.
Well, and there has been a lot of construction in both of your districts, and I know that in Yelm there's a discussion about just being able to house the students that are
Correct.
coming in. So were there programs or projects that you had at the high school that you wanted to see maybe implemented district-wide?
I think one of the main priorities that I'm bringing right now is that each one of our schools is being challenged to tell their story, that they need to be very aggressive in their communications about the success stories that are going on every day. Too often we go out and we talk about the successes that we're having, and our community says, oh, I didn't know that. And we're taking that as a personal responsibility that we're going to tell our story. So each school has a very aggressive marketing plan, how they're going to engage parents and their community groups who don't have students in school, and really get to know us in terms of how well we work with kids, how much we embrace the fact that we know how much trust parents give us every day to work with their students, but really know the stories that are going on. That's an important piece of what we're trying to do in this initial part of my superintendency.
Were there any surprises when you took your jobs? I'll just toss that out to both of you, that you come in, oh, didn't know that. Good, I mean, good surprise. I'll say good surprises. We'll put it that way.
I think good surprises. I'd never been able to see the full transportation system at work. I was always at school. And watching the trust and care that those drivers and the dispatchers and the directors put into getting kids to school and back home, it was really inspiring to see that, of how watching those little kindergarten kids get on and off the bus and reunited with their parents.
Yeah.
It really reminded us that we have a very, very strong duty to take care of those kids.
Yeah, I have young cousins in my life now who are living close by, and getting on the bus was just the hugest thrill for her. She was so excited when she got to ride the bus. How about you? Were there any like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that kind of moments?
Well, I think whenever you have been in education for a long time, procedures are different across school districts, but the quality of staff that we have and the deep commitment our teachers have to student success, I wouldn't say it's a surprise at all, but it's wonderful to meet staff and meet all of our leaders and see how committed they are to student success.
Great. Well, thanks for taking a few minutes here at the beginning of the show before we bring everybody else to the table to introduce yourselves to the community. We're so thrilled to have you in your roles as superintendents of our schools and to have you as guests here at the table. I know we'll see more of you as the school year moves on. Stay with us. We'll be back with more of Superintendent's Roundtable when the superintendents from Olympia and Tumwater join us.
I love TCTV, but I don't have a TV here. If only there was a way for me to catch up on all the great content.
Oh, but there is.
Who is that? Where are you?
Right in front of you.
You're my computer?
Yes. Now let me show you how to see TCTV wherever you want, whenever you want.
Whoa! 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 Where am I?
This is tctv.net, the home of TCTV Video on Demand.
Video on demand? What's that?
It's a new section on the website where you can easily stream your favorite TCTV shows from any computer connected to the internet.
Wow, that's great. I can't wait to watch all the awesome shows that I haven't seen yet.
At the bottom of the front page of tctv.net, there's a video player. Click on the link on the top left of that player that says On Demand. Next, click anywhere on the video player screen and you'll see a list of TCTV shows you can watch without cable from anywhere in the world.
Thanks, Mr. Computer.
Welcome back to the Superintendent's Roundtable. I'm Deborah Vinsel. We're joined by the superintendents from the Olympia and the Tumwater schools. So we want to welcome back Dick Cvitanich from the Olympia School District and John Bash from the Tumwater schools as we continue our conversation about education in our community. So this is our first meeting of the 2016-2017 school year. School's been in session for about 3.5 weeks now. And I know that over the summer months, everybody goes through a hiring frenzy to fill positions that have been vacated or new positions that have been created. So I'm going to start with you, Dick, and talk about, that process and whether or not the teacher shortage that we hear about that seems to be rolling out has had an effect on our schools here. So how did your hiring go, and has there been a shortage?
Well, Deborah, the shortage is real. We hired totally in our district 211 new employees. 100 of those were certificated staff. So we had a turnover of about 15% in our school district. And I think the challenge was, in the past, we had multiple candidates for each position. And the candidate pool is relatively small. Tough positions to fill: physical therapists, school nurses, specialty positions, and special education in particular was really, really difficult. And we've just seen a diminishing pool. And I think since 2009, the latest research is the number of students entering the teacher prep pipeline is down almost 200,000 students nationwide. And that's a lot. And part of that, I think, is the compensation issue has lagged behind other bachelor degrees about 20%. And so I'm grateful that the state's looking at it, but the pool is definitely shallow. And one other factor that we've been talking about is that with the new K-3 classroom size legislation, which is really great, a lot of our teachers who maybe have been in really demanding special education teaching environments have chosen to do that as well. So I would say our biggest challenge is in the area of special needs classrooms.
Okay. John, how about in Tumwater?
Well, I would say my colleague Dick captured it very well, because our story is pretty much the same. The only thing I really could add is that because special education has been such a challenging area to find qualified applicants for, we've had to go to emergency certification provisions in our state to actually work with people then who don't have all their credentials for those roles, but then build a support plan around them, so we have somebody working with our kids with some skills at least in those areas, which is burdening some of our existing staff because we're asking them to be the ones that help. And so it's kind of a new age with regard to finding a way and becoming creative about how we meet those shortage areas. The other thing we're finding, and I know this is true in our region, when we can't find qualified applicants, sometimes we're going to contracted staff who work for companies that specialize in these kinds of services, particularly psychologists and therapists, as Dick mentioned. So I can confirm that the pools are smaller as well, and I guess I would just throw in that having worked in school districts that are much smaller than ours, my prediction is you would hear them say that their issue is even more profound, because we're getting a lot of experienced teachers still applying for jobs in Tumwater, typically from smaller districts in the county and Western Washington.
And that's because compensation in smaller districts is traditionally just lower because of budget capabilities. So, how about in Yelm?
The teacher shortage is apparent in Yelm as well. We hired approximately 50 full-time teachers this summer. We were able to be very successful early in filling some of our special education areas. We're still, just like everybody else, is looking for therapists and some of the specialty positions. The shortage is hitting us right now as we're looking to add teachers due to enrollment bubbles within our district, and finding a qualified applicant pool has been difficult. One of the things that we've had to really implement and look at is how well we work with our first-year teachers. They're in the case where we use emergency certifications or partial certifications, having great mentors, having great mentor programs within your district is really challenging and important, so that those teachers can have a great experience and the kids have a great experience, which is the ultimate goal.
And in North Thurston, that would have been right as you were coming into your position, would be kind of the peak of the hiring season for you too. So.
That's correct. And our HR department has streamlined the application process for candidates. I think most of the school districts are using the same system so that as it's easier for candidates to apply, hopefully we have a very warm and welcoming process for candidates. I wanted to pick up on what Brian was saying about how important it is for us as a system to support new teachers to the profession, even considering at the high school level, how are we encouraging our students to consider teaching as a profession? Within most of our school districts, we have CTE programs that have a teacher academy program. And in many of our systems, those programs got smaller as we implemented more graduation requirements. So we're really looking at how can we grow our own teachers. Nationally, most teachers teach 17 miles from where they grew up. So as we look internally at not only growing more teachers, but a more diverse teaching workforce, we need to look at what can we do to contribute to more people entering the teaching profession.
I want to, before we get off of this topic, I do want to talk a little bit about special education, because it's kind of a big umbrella of, so when you say special education is a particularly difficult hiring, it's a very, very shallow hiring pool. It's not just one thing that people have to deal with. So what does special education encompass today? I know when I was in school, it had a very specific connotation, but it's different now. So what falls under special education? Anybody want to take that?
Well, I would just offer that as a public school districts, our charge is to educate all children. And for the viewers, I would say just sort of look at society around you, and you see a huge diversity of human beings in our population. And our charge is to educate all students regardless of what they come to school with in terms of abilities. So, we have students that range from life skills programs where as they age, we're trying to teach them how to ride the bus, how to get ready for potential employment. As students are younger in preschool, we're teaching them not just how to get along with each other, but how to feed themselves. We have students in other programs that their needs are way more complex, and we're doing everything from feeding to diapering to changing. And so, again, I think we're a reflection of the general public. However, as you're out in public, you may not see those individuals as much. But in our public schools, that's our charge, and it is unbelievably challenging work. But that's our work.
So it's pretty much that big umbrella covers
Yes.
developmental delay, behavioral challenges, learning disability, physical challenges. All of that falls under that. So you need a variety of different types of professionals to work with that those in that population.
Correct, and not just teachers. I think you heard people talking about the need for physical therapists, nurses, to develop health plans for students in an environment that's different than their home. So those become really critical. And one of our challenges, and I don't really want to beat the drum about compensation here today, but physical therapists and speech language pathologists and nurses have multiple options through the healthcare world, which is also a very competitive marketplace, and again, a different environment. So the challenge for us is competing with those organizations as well.
And special education is really a birth to 21-year-old program. It's not kindergarten through graduation. And it puts a lot of pressure on the system to constantly adjust. The more that we learn about autism spectrum disorders, requires substantial retraining and retooling of the services we want to provide those students. So it's not just a broad challenge, it's a changing challenge as well.
Could I add one
Sure.
more piece on this that I think is really important? As Brian said, it's through age 21. And then the term is age out. Students age out. And I think we do a really fine job in terms of public schools and meeting student needs through age 21. Where the gap now is in our country, I believe, is when kids age out of the public schools and what's next for them. And that's a problem nationally.
Okay, thanks. Well, let's, since we've talked about the challenges in finding the qualified people, let's talk a little bit about the challenges of funding the positions, because school funding is always something, it's a kind of our perennial topic. Obviously, we'll have a new legislature in many ways coming in. There's a lot of these in the 22nd district, for sure. We know we're going to have 3 new faces there, or at least 2 new faces there. So what does it look like as we move forward? I mean, it seems like we have this discussion and we always end up with, we're doing the best we can with what we have, but there's still this issue with the legislature. So John, let's talk a little bit about school funding and what the future looks like for the schools here.
Sadly, I can probably speak for all of us in sharing with you that the current state of things is not any different than it was during the last program. And that's the problem. Fundamentally, that progress towards full funding continues to be the hang-up, largely because of political polarity in Olympia and competing agendas on how we should go about funding. The only good news in that is at least the folks that are in different camps are saying the same thing, that we do need to fund education. There's just deep disagreement about how to go about doing that. Primarily in the form of, do we need more revenue or not? And I believe that will be the linchpin issue in this upcoming legislative session. And you won't hear legislators talking about that right now because it's election season. That doesn't earn you votes. And so what we're told by our professional associations is to watch the election carefully, because like you said, that will dictate in large part how the process will go in this full legislative session. We mentioned the levy cliff in the last program, and that's now upon us.
And you want to just refresh our viewers, what do you mean by the levy cliff?
Sure. For years, because of a lack of state funding, what the legislature did do is allow school districts to ask for more and more from their local property owners in the form of property taxes that voters could approve on the ballot. And so all of us have been successful and are blessed by a very supportive community that has done that. But those extensions now to the levy lid, as it's referred to, are going to expire. And if the legislature takes no action, I know that in Tumwater School District, over a 2-year period, we'll lose $3 million in revenue that voters have approved, but we're not going to be able to collect. And the numbers vary across districts, but they're typically proportional, and that's a significant amount of money. And so what you'll hear statewide is people are going to prepare 2 budgets this year. One is a budget that assumes the legislature continues to take no action, and so now we have to plan for a reduction of expenditures of that amount. Or some districts are going to be pressured to take a look at their savings account and spend money out of your savings account, which is dangerous because, especially if that's for salaries, you can't sustain an approach like that. But that's what I can share, and we're hopeful. And call me Pollyanna, but I'm going to remain hopeful that something
Fingers
positive
crossed.
happens. Yes.
Brian, you look like you wanted to jump in.
Well, John is very accurate. In a property-poor district like Yelm, we're also very concerned with levy equalization. That the levy cliff would hurt us on that side if levy equalization were to go away, probably to the same amount that you're talking about, around $3 million. So we have not historically in Yelm run our levy to the max, but we're very dependent on those levy equalization dollars, and that's very critical to our budget. I do agree also with the fact that there's more urgency, there's more We have to get this done, being said, in the people that work in the legislative area right now, so I'm hopeful. But it is disconcerting that how we pay for this is not being talked about in the election cycle, because budgets will be due shortly after the election, and that I don't like having to react when we don't have information ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, and I've shared before that, before moving here, I never lived in a state that didn't have an income tax. And I've been here 25 years now, and when you talk revenue, I mean, that's a code word, and our legislators do not want to talk in terms of increasing revenue, because when you boil it all down, it's going to be a fee or a tax or something in order to generate that revenue. So it is a difficult, when you're in an election season, an election year, it's very difficult to talk about that. Did you want to add anything to the conversation about funding and how it affects your group?
I would just share that I think we are all grateful for the additional funding we have received in recent years. We've rolled out full-time kindergarten. That was long overdue in our state. A lot of other states had full-time kindergarten already in place. So the additional funding that we received for full-time kindergarten we're grateful for, as well as funding to reduce class size. We've implemented smaller class sizes in our district as a result of that funding. So we're grateful for the work that's happened so far. We just know we have a ways to go.
Yeah. Dick, anything to add?
I think colleagues have described it well. There is one piece that's related to the hiring piece. We all work with staff with contracts. And if the legislature can't attend to their work in the early part of the session, if it draws out to May or June, John's already alluded that we would create 2 budgets, but all of us have contracts with trigger dates for hiring staff, and not knowing where the budget is going to be, and the levy makes up such a large part of our budget, we have to figure out a way how to work with our staff, because you have to give RIF notices in advance. And that will be challenging because we have dates contractually that are set, but even more challenging is as a community where staff move from place to place, RIF notices go out. That makes new teachers you heard we're hiring new teachers, very, very nervous. They're trying to buy homes, they're raising a family. What do I do? Do I jump to another district that's not seemingly worried about this? So that's a very real challenge for us as well.
Yeah, I know that happened several years ago when everybody at the table said the notices went out. We didn't have any other choice, and all of our teachers are kind of sitting around wondering, come September, am I teaching or not? It was a really challenging time for everybody. So back to school. Like I said, we've been in school now for the last 3.5 weeks, and enrollment, you mentioned watching transportation roll out, how surprising that was. So how's the first month gone? How's it been?
Been a strong start to the school year. Our enrollment's up. We're about 120 students above what we budgeted for, and we're trying to adjust our staffing to accommodate that. Growing continuously, we're still enrolling new students, and it is really giving us the information that we need for what we're planning for 2017-18 in the fall, where we'll change the configuration of our schools. Our elementaries will go to K-5s, and our middle schools will move to 6-8, and we'll move the 9th grade back up to the high school. And that will give us enough classrooms at the elementary to handle the bubbles that we're seeing. And right now we have great class sizes. We've run out of room, and running out of rooms has caused us to take down computer labs and art classrooms to make them general ed classrooms. And so this will be a much better delivery model as we get to it for our students next year.
Great. And for you, Deborah?
So in North Thurston, we opened a new middle school, Salish Middle School, and that helped with our growing enrollment. We're also adjusting to a 6 through 8 grade level in all of our middle schools, so that alleviated some of the overcrowding at the elementary level by moving all of the 6th graders to middle school. In our district, we also implemented boundary changes throughout the school district. We had a pattern of one of our high schools being much larger than 2 other high schools. So by making those boundary changes with the opening of the new middle school, we've adjusted elementary, middle, and high school so that we can use some of the unused facility space in some of our high schools by shifting boundaries. So that's a lot of change
And
in
that's a challenge to your
one school
community
year.
too, I'm sure. So
Sure, and but our staff did a great job of communicating about it. The board made a wise decision. When we think about the support of our community to provide for facilities, we want to make sure we're making the most efficient use of the facilities we have. So the staff did a great job of answering questions and making information available to families so they knew which school their children would be attending.
great. So it's off the ground. And Dick, how did things go with the rollout for Olympia?
I love the opening of school. It's my favorite time of the year, and I kind of clear the desk and am not in my office, and we have 19 schools and various sites, so I pretty much spend the first 3 days just going to each place, and I can't tell you how many ice cream bars I ate at ice cream feeds, welcome back activities.
Popsicles.
I've been to about, I guess, 16 curriculum nights I like to attend, and just the first few days of school and watching our teachers building a sense of community in the classrooms, that we're all part of something here together. It's just so gratifying to watch. And I guess the first part of the school year gives me an opportunity, and all of us an opportunity, to reflect that this is what it's all about. We get caught up in a lot of the minutiae as school starts to roll in, and we're problem solving, and that's part of the work. But the lead up to school is fantastic, and it was just a tremendous amount of fun. I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun for the adults as it's fun for the students as well. And compliments to the staff across the district, whether it's transportation or child nutrition or in the classroom. We had a really nice opening. So
Good. And John, how about Tumwater?
Similar, and I would say the inspiring thing that comes to mind for me is before school even started, there continues to be a commitment in the Tumwater community with our partners to make sure every kid comes through the door ready with the tools they need for learning. And so again, this year we had several hundred backpacks stuffed with school supplies, and that was a result of a lot of community support and donations, primarily through our Stuff the Bus program, and I know other districts do the same thing. We all partner with the Little Red Schoolhouse program that was well publicized, and again, we had an increasing number of families access that. And like Dick said, our open house events are that time when you see kids and parents excited, I think sometimes for different reasons about the start of school. And our staff's doing a great job. We have experienced a significant increase in enrollment. So we're up 168 kids from what we expected, and 234 kids more than this time last year. That's well beyond the trend Tumwater has seen. So that largely has been in the East Olympia Elementary School area of our district, where we did see some housing developments sold and occupied. And that's what a lot of that is due to. The other interesting thing is that's largely growth of Tumwater families, because we've had to turn away many transfer requests this year so that we preserve the space we do have for families who live in the Tumwater system. That will change next year because we are in construction phase. So like North Thurston, we opened Peter G. Schmidt Elementary School. Last night we hosted a community tour and orientation. Had 10 teachers there volunteering to give the tours, and we're just delighted to provide a really beautiful facility to that staff that's also very, very safe, and the design was really focused on that as a top priority. We're in the process, like Yelm is, of adding wings to both of our middle schools so that we too will go to 6-8 middle schools next fall, which will buy us some room. And then I would just say that our community partnerships expanded yet again this year. We have some significant mental health needs that our kids and families face, and so the CMAR organization now is placing mental health professionals, one in each of our middle schools and high schools this year for the first time, and we're excited about that new service.
Yeah. I drove by Peter G. Schmidt the other day. It's a beautiful building. I'd seen it when it was kind of in construction, and I hadn't seen the completed building, but it's something to be very proud of. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about assessment and how we're doing. So I'm going to start with you, and what does assessment look like in North Thurston, and your graduation rates and growth of your students and everything that goes with it.
So this is our second year, as it was for everyone, of the Smarter Balanced Assessment, and in virtually all grade levels we have more students meeting or exceeding standard. So it's thanks to our staff's hard work, adjusting our instruction to align our core content to the new standards has been done, as well as making sure we're very familiar with the new assessment and students are well prepared to show what they know. So I think across the state averages went up. In North Thurston, like many of the school districts, we're meeting or exceeding those state averages. And that's ELA and math. Science, the assessment hasn't changed. It's been the same for the last few years, and we continue to have more students meeting or exceeding those standards, as well as quite a bit above the state average in science.
Great. Dick, how about you?
I guess I'd respond sort of globally. The state of Washington takes the SBAC, the Smarter Balanced Assessment, and we just received data that our state outperformed 6 or 7 other states that are participating. So it's good news for the entire state of Washington and public education in this state. Our students scored well above those other states, and that's worth celebrating. So congratulations. As a district, we're proud that, particularly that in our smaller subcategories, particularly our Spanish-speaking students, Hispanic families, did unbelievably well. We exceeded, all across all categories as a school district, but drilling down deeper into our, groups, we're just really proud of the work they've done in numerous areas on the SBAC. Our Spanish-speaking students actually outscored the state total all average, and we're really, really proud of that. We have work to do, but we were very pleased, and we're really trying to focus on the group as all of our students start to perform higher. We want to make sure that all of our subcategories, if you will, continue to improve as well, and they have, but we want to keep pushing to close that gap even more, and that remains the challenge for us.
Okay. John?
Similarly, we saw in both ELA and math increases over the last year, but we're cautious about communicating any sort of trend over 2 years because the assessment still is relatively new to us. Obviously, you always celebrate when the needle moves upward, and so we're glad about that. You asked about graduation rates, and we're calculating that still for the prior year, but our 2015 rates at both high schools were right at 85%. And again, while that exceeds the state performance, that means 15% we didn't get there with. And some of those kids will finish in more than 4 years, but that is our work. And I think we'd all agree that represents, at the high school level, a greater challenge now that we're all facing a 24 credit graduation requirement that I'm sure we're all planning around. And then I'm pleased that 2 of our schools last year, and then we just found out this fall, have been recognized by the state. One is a school of distinction, East Olympia Elementary School, last spring, and then this fall a Title I award in mathematics for Little Rock Elementary School. And so we all, I'm sure, could list award-winning schools, and that's one great thing about Thurston County. There's outstanding things going on in every one of our districts, and we're all proud.
Great. And how about Yelm?
I start with graduation rates. We're looking to stay strong. We've been consistently outpacing the state. Our 4-year rate probably at the high school will be around 85% as well, but our 5-year rate will stay over 90%, which we think is outstanding. Our SBAC results I would call flat. We have some great pockets of excellence that have taken place, but what really has me encouraged is the work that our teachers did over the summer. We're launching an elementary English language arts curriculum, and all of our teachers needed significant training over the summer to launch that new tool. It really provides them with what they need to teach students to the standards or help them reach the standards. And at the secondary level, we're implementing a new math curriculum, and that took amazing work on their part to do the curriculum mapping and the collaboration that's required to adopt a new math program. So just really proud of how those teachers have stepped in and just took it and started running with it. It's been fun to watch in the classroom.
Great. So in addition to anything that we've already talked about in terms of new training or whatever, are there other new initiatives that are rolling out at your schools? So I'm not sure where I was in the row here. I think Dick, starting with you.
Fine. Yes, we are rolled out a new English language arts curriculum as well called Wonders in grades K through 5, and a new English language arts program at our middle schools called Springboard, and piloting the same at the high school. And we're really excited. We haven't had a new English language arts curriculum in probably 12 years in the school district. And we feel like with this, we've kind of completed a piece that needed to be done. We added the Bridges math curriculum a couple years ago and have had unbelievable success with student performance, and we're looking for the same. But it's all about the training and trying to get especially the new teachers on board, but we're very excited about that.
Great. John?
In terms of new
Anything new?
initiatives, we have some new math programming for our algebra students at the high school level. That continues to be a high-stakes area, as we all know. But in addition to that, we launched with a new strategic plan this year, a 5-year plan that resulted in 6 goals, and we don't have time to get into all those details, but I want to share one that we're particularly excited about and have already started down the road with, and that's early learning. By 2021, our ambitious goal is that every 5-year-old would be ready for kindergarten in Tumwater. And the way we've started out strategizing how we'll go about achieving that goal is by gathering all of our partners in the community that provide any kind of service to kids birth to age 5, childcare folks, even our faith-based organizations that provide preschool and those kinds of things. And it's amazing how excited they are to work with us and finding the families that aren't receiving services now and figuring out how we get them placed, particularly our disadvantaged families who may not be able to afford some of the options that cost money. And so we're excited to kick that off this year, and in future programs I'm sure I'll come and share some more stories about that work.
That'd be great. I look forward to that. Brian, new initiatives in Yelm?
Very similar. In addition to the elementary language arts curriculum and the high school math or secondary math, we too are launching a strategic plan. I met with the board for several hours on a past Saturday, and very ambitious. It was powerful work that we did. And one of the major tenets is that we want every student on a path to graduation starting in kindergarten, and just see that it's important that we're hitting every measure along the way, and that students are very well prepared once they graduate to make that decision about their continuing education and their work, and that a lot of the initiatives will fall in behind that. We too have really tried to partner with some of our preschool programs and provide them with English language arts curriculum to provide them with literacy supports so that that kindergarten readiness is there. We know that's a great launching point, and we're really starting to target in on 3rd grade as well. We know that that's a major gatekeeping point of emphasis for us, that we have to have kids as strong as we can in language arts and math for them to really be successful as they continue on. But the 5-year plan, which we hope to have approved by our community by December, I'm really excited about it because it's ambitious, it's very future focused, it's high energy, and that's what we want.
Okay. Deb, how about you?
Similar work in early learning. I think all of us are recognizing in K-12 that we need to partner with early learning providers so that children do come to us ready for kindergarten, because we know when they do, we do a great job of keeping them on track and graduating them on time. One area program change is for North Thurston is our highly capable program. So in the past we had a magnet program, so students would come across the district, and we're rolling that out in each of our middle schools this year with 6th grade students being served in their neighborhood middle school.
Nice, very, very nice. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of the program, and I always like to give you an opportunity to share a favorite moment or story from what's been going on at the schools, and I think we'll start with our newest members at the table here. So earlier, Brian, you shared that you were kind of amazed at the transportation system, but as school rolled out for the beginning of the year, is there any special moment that you experienced that you went, oh, this is why we do what we do?
Yeah, we had an incredible event at our second football game, right the week school started. The high school spent the week really working on cyber safety and internet safety and those kinds of things, and trying to make every student feel like they belong and are part of a school community. But it was culminated with the University of Washington marching band that came to our football game.
Wow.
And 260 musicians on the football field. They did a pre-game performance and a halftime performance. We had more than 3,000 people at the game. It was an incredible community event. And elementary students, middle school students, high school students, and the feedback that we received from the folks at the University of Washington is that they've never had a community engage them in their performance. People would be respectful of the performance, but our kids were out singing with them and they performed with our band. It was a really strong indicator of how tight-knit Yelm is as a community. And there were people there who don't have kids in the school system, and it was just a real positive affirmation that we're a very tight-knit community.
Well, congratulations on that. Deb, how about you?
Well, it's hard to choose one. The beginning of the school year is a great time. It's fun to have students connect with their school community and greeting parents and welcoming staff back. But I would say what John shared earlier about the generosity of our community to provide school supplies for our students, for me, being brand new to the community, the Little Red Schoolhouse, and so many other community groups, recognizing that we have children who have needs and we don't want them not having school supplies to get in the way of their learning. So for me, that's been something that I hold dear and remember for the start of the year.
What a great way to start your first school year with the district. Dick, how about you?
I'm going to move quickly because I have a lot to say.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
There are things they seem like small things, but they're really big things. And then there are big things that they're just big things. Right. So two really big things. I want to give a shout out to Carol McKay, who is our ESD Teacher of the Year. She's a math teacher at Capitol High School. And I want to give a shout out to Jana Dean, who is a math teacher at Jefferson Middle School, and she's one of two finalists for the Presidential Award, two state finalists for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Teaching Math and Science. Huge honor to be selected. And so those are the big things. Now, here's a little thing that's really a big thing that I just really got excited about, and I just think it speaks a lot for professional educators. When I was at Capitol High School, the English teacher was giving her presentation to parents at curriculum night, and I was listening, and she was doing a great job. And then she talked about, and just so you know, parents, 2 Saturdays a week, I'm at, from 1 to 3, I'm at a coffee shop that's green, white, and I guess it's a black logo.
Very familiar to
yes,
everybody.
And I will be there from 1 to 3 p.m. 2 Saturdays a month for your children to come in and have conversations if they need help or if you want to come in and talk. Little thing in a classroom, but a huge thing that speaks to educators really wanting to help kids be successful. And that's my favorite story of the fall.
Great.
Thank you.
And John, how about you?
I've got a couple. I was at Tumwater Middle School for their open house for parents and students. And after the opening program, I was going to find my way to a classroom and take in one of the team presentations, and a parent stopped me and she said, I just have to tell you, I come from Oregon, where my son with some significant special learning needs had a terrible year. And we struggled with the school and with services, and while she didn't go into great detail, she says, I just need you to know that the love shown to me and my son by the staff at this school has been nothing short of amazing. And she began to tear up as she was telling me that. And so I get a little misty when I retell that story, because that's why we're all here. And then I want to give a shout out to Bob Barclift, who has been a longtime school board member and just announced that he's resigning after 53 years of service in some capacity to the Tumwater School District and the community. And so to Bob, I say thank you very much for all of that service and your dedication. And that story I just told is what Bob would tell you brought him to give all those years. That's what we should be about. So thank you, Bob.
Well, congratulations all to a successful start to the school year, and to Brian and Deb. Brian, welcome to the table. To Deb, welcome to the table and to the community. We're so glad to have you with us. And I look forward to continuing our conversation in a couple of months at our next meeting. If you're the parent of a preschool child, get involved with your child's education. Read to them 20 minutes a day. That's one of the best things you can do to get them ready for school. And while you're at it, throw in some counting games and some numbers to get them interested in math. If you're the parent of a school-aged child, go to your school, learn about what's going on in your school, and get involved with your child's education. There are many ways that parents and family members can volunteer. Go to your school's website or talk to the principal or your school's teacher to see what might work for you. For all of us here at the Superintendent's Roundtable, I'm so glad to be able to come back and share this with you. And for the volunteers and staff here at TCTV, I say a big thank you for watching. I'm Deborah Vinsel. We'll see you again soon.